find Daniel because he's got the, he can put it up on the screen. Dale's not in right now, right? Dale, that is correct. Yeah, he's an hospital. Come see me after class.
Let me check the other room.
Okay, here's how we're gonna proceed. Close that door. Jerry. All right, friends, here's what, we're gonna take up Leslie's first. So here's the sentence at the end of committee meetings and notice. Says, all members are allowed to attend any committee or subcommittee meeting, but do not have the right to vote and may only participate with leave of the committee chair. Leslie would like to substitute that to say, all members are allowed to attend any committee or subcommittee meeting but do not have the right to vote and may not participate with the leave of the committee chairman. Is that the way I understand it, Liz?
Oh.
That's the way it was noticed, so you're gonna have to lay it out for us.
Okay, so I think that goes back to my first time I seen it, like way back months ago.
Okay? What do you want us to say?
But this time when I noticed it was wrong, because that was that whole sentence, I would like to strike that someplace. Because we already have the right to come to our meetings, and we already have, and under Robert's rules, we have the right to speak, and that's what single one has the right to speak. And I'd like to take it back to the way it was. I'd like to take it back to the way it was before this was passed.
Okay, so you're proposing that we do a strike, so it means all members are allowed to attend any committee meeting, but do not have the right
I'll
to
try to
vote.
I'm here to strike that last sentence.
The last half of the sentence, Leslie, or?
The whole thing, because we already have the right.
Okay, so let me ask you something there. What does that do?
It allows, SRC members to participate in the discussion and debate in committee meetings that they are not members of.
How does it do that? Which does not. So you're incorrect about that. Robert's rules does not suggest in a committee that every member of a society be allowed to speak at a committee. They, in fact, Robert suggests that the members not even allowed to attend unless they seek authorization from the chair. So what's gonna happen when you do this is now the bylaws are gonna be silent, which we go back to the parliamentary authority that says those members shouldn't even be there, so we're allowing them to be there, but we are not allowing them to speak at all. Right now, as the bylaw is written, it gives discretion to the chair of the committee to recognize someone to speak. Yeah, I think what you're about to do is gonna make it more restrictive than what it already is, but before you do, let's go ahead and have some more discussion. Chuck, did you want to speak on it?
Well, I want to know, which article and section is this now?
Do you have your agenda?
We're on Article
We're
7.
on Article 7, Section 3, last sentence.
So Leslie, as you're proposing, the updated proposal is to end section 3 at the telephone period. You want to see it as well?
I'm ready to get it on the screen here in just a second.
So what am I doing in the last sentence? So that was the original proposal, wasn't it, right? So I'm going to strike that.
You want to strike it, man?
Strikes and unstrikes, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, it's sufficient.
Daniel, is it still to you that would share?
Sure. Yes, I have dinner reservations at 5:30. If you get into that, I'm going to assist. Just be honest, I'm gonna get steak at 5:30 and I'm not gonna be out there meeting.
Gave up your technique, so.
I gave up my Big 12 tickets to be here with you today. You wouldn't have done that? For the love of you people
All of us are waiting.
and Pickle left. It's Pickle's fault. He didn't show up.
So I start with, rules of my thought.
Yes.
Jeff, while we're doing it, what was your question?
Oh, I just wanted to know, I already got it, I just wanted to know where it was in the, which article section was it?
Anybody else want to discuss this?
I want to see what the proposed change is.
Strike that last sentence from and, the last part of that sentence, or and, do you see it there?
Well, I actually want to keep the last section.
Okay, but do you have anything else you want to say on it? Okay.
That's all, I want to say, I prefer to keep the last section.
This is a proposal. Committee members, discussion. Yeah.
Okay, up until this session when we adopted the bylaws, the SREC members always had the right to debate and discussion in the committee members, even though they weren't a committee, member of that committee. Always. Even when we were, not in control of the SREC, we still had that right. That's a very important right to me, because that meant my people had the right to at least express their opinion in this, what was a hostile environment. So, I would like to restore that right, that every SREC member has a right to debate and discussion. And I understand resolutions, they get too busy and they get too much, but they can make rules in their own committee to limit debate to like 1 minute or something like that. They have that right. So this was used against me at a meeting, and they said, well, it's in the rules. So I've been coming to these meetings for like 2 decades, and I'm like, that is not in the rules. So I go out and I talk to Steve Bowen, who was a parliamentarian, and he didn't know that this was in there. So it got in there because we were told that it was grammatical fixes, and that is a substantive change. Now, if this body wants that in there, I would like them to vote on that with knowledge, because even our parliamentarian didn't know that that was a change of our bylaws. So anyway, we spent 30 minutes going through the rules and through the bylaws, and then Steve came upon this. So this has caused some great concerns, like I was kicked out of a meeting, Jeremy Story was kicked out of a meeting, because we always had that right, and we didn't know that we were violating a rule, and until I found it. So anyway, that's my objective, is that if we're gonna change this, then we need to take away a member's right, and we need to have a discussion, as the whole SRAC, to, whether we, take those rights away from members. We need to be informed about that, right.
So let's walk through this. If we strike this sentence, what gives an SRAC member a right to be recognized in the committee? How does that do that?
They raise their hand.
Raise your hand.
I know, it's.
I mean, you still are up to the chair, and so to be recognized, you're still only getting to speak with either the chair. What I think this sentence actually did when it was amended was gave more rights, saying the chair can recognize other members to come in. If you strike this, we go back to Roberts, because then it's now silent, and the default authority goes back to Roberts. Roberts will say, you're not even supposed to be in the room.
But in practice, we always had the right. I was never.
Love and practice,
Yeah.
but that's not enforceable.
And in practice, that other one had people actually, marched out of the room.
And the committee chair should want the testimony and be inclusive. If somebody's trying, Kristen's trying to get recognized up there, I'm not gonna call on her
You've
today.
been giving.
I'm not, you don't have the floor. Chuck, did you have, see, that's how it's done, is I can run over you. So, go ahead. I'm making a point. I'm using you to make a point.
Okay, I'm gonna practice this with.
Can you address the chair, please?
Okay, so let me practice it the, I love you, and you know I love you.
And the reason is because I can't hear you if you're not looking.
Okay, so I am not in favor of changing this, because the chairman, because these committees have to be efficient in how they are run. We just saw that in resolutions, that there's very limited time. And in order to do the important business of that committee, it has to be run efficiently, and that is up to the chair to manage that. And so, the committee members are the ones that are on that committee, they're there for a reason. And when we have certain committee members come in, then it is up to the chair in order to decide if they get to be able to speak. And it would be so disruptive, there's no point in having a committee assignment if everybody is allowed to come in. And it just would not be efficient at all. So in practicality, I just don't think it would work. As a subcommittee chair, I run a tight ship during our committee meetings for a reason, so that we respect everybody's time and get the business done. And so I think it works well overall, the way that we're doing it, and that I don't think we need to change it.
For information, we can email at any SREC can send an email if they want something addressed and give their opinion to you, and then maybe introduce it to the committee.
That's not a point of information. That's a statement.
Well, I'm making a statement, but I'm, well.
Is that correct?
Said-
Is that correct?
I mean, so here's the thing, members. The committees are under the authority of the full body. So nothing gets final approval. There's no committee that has the authority to act outside of the SREC except officials in very defined circumstances in the bylaws. Everything else is committee, this body does, takes authority over the committee. It comes to the floor. Your chance and your voice happens at the floor. You have a chance to weigh in. Testimony is valuable in committees, but all of us are put on committees to go do the work, to do the heavy lifting for the larger committee. Can you imagine if we wanted to debate resolutions on the floor? How that would work on the floor? It would be a 3-day meeting. So the committees go do the heavy lifting. This was modified, I believe, if I remember correctly, because somebody wanted to recognize and because they couldn't speak in a committee, it at least said with the chairman's discretion, which is already granted in Roberts, chairman can recognize somebody. I can recognize somebody in the back to speak on something as testimony if I want to, provided I don't infringe on debate rules that are imposed on the society. If we have a 3-4, 3 against, I can't invite testimony and say that was 1-4, because that disenfranchises the minority of the room. So I love what you're trying to do. I don't think this does it. I think this hurts it, because this says, once you strike that, you got no voice. Because I'll go back to Roberts, that says committee construction is the members of the committee, and only testimony can be recognized, which is exactly what it says now.
I'm not disappointed, Commissioner, but.
We're having, I'm just messing with these two. This is fun.
Participation with the lead, participation with the lead of the committee chair, they have that now. You just demonstrated it. You just demonstrated that you can recognize Kristen or not recognize Kristen. They have that now. And so my amendment is
If
essentially the same.
your amendment gives it to Roberts, which is more restrictive than that.
No, the committee chair has the lead, but what it does is the committee member can say, hey, I have something to say, you recognize me, and at least they have a standing.
The committee member?
No, the SRC member can say, look, I have a right to debate. And so, but to Kristen's point, I do know that there's only one committee that has issues with that, and that's resolutions. And they can got to speak, and non-SRC members got to speak. And I don't mean for a little bit, I mean for a long time. So.
Okay, but your point is custom, not rule.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about how they implemented that last part. That they froze out SRC members and let non-SRC members get testimony. So I'm saying is that Texas is a big place, and we have lots of voices, and it's better to get a 1 minute, at least, 1 minute heads up about an SRC member's opinion than have to go to the floor and have to hash it out there. So it is more, time efficient to do it in the committee.
Wholeheartedly agree with you, but you're still at the will of the chair. So let's exercise.
Either way, it's the will of the chair.
Now,
but
let's-
it's
hold
just
on.
way I can appoint that we have the right
Let's
to make.
exercise this. You strike that out now. We're chairing a meeting. You're an SRC member, not on the committee, and I recognize you to speak. And Chuck says, point of order, she's not on the committee. He has a valid point of order because you're not on the committee. And I don't have the ability to let you speak now because you've taken that away. Now it's subject to a point of order, and I have to rule on it because he's saying you're not a member of the
But I
committee.
do have the right to debate, but not to vote.
Still up to the chair though.
I know, and the other one
No.
goes to the chair too, the vote.
If you want to send this forward and the committee does, I think it's great. What I'm telling you is it doesn't do anything, and it actually, you're attempting to say they have the right to debate without the discretion of the chair. It's always up to the discretion of the chair, how he wants to recognize. For instance, I will not recognize Virgil today to speak in this committee, because he's not a member.
There goes your laptop.
So, this is my one point I want to make. Right now, under the current rule, the committee chair has the right to refuse, anyone who's not on the committee right to debate, right now. With this next one, the committee chair, and there's no recourse. With my amendment, they have the right to, the committee chair has the right to recognize, but if they don't recognize a non-SRC member, my recourse is, go to the bylaws and point out, look, I have the right to debate. And if it's, and everyone knows what fair play is. And if it is, if it's like crunch time, we gotta get through this, then I'm gonna lose. But if it's not crunch time and I'm being marginalized, I can say, I can say, look, I have the right to debate. There was time, and I have my right to debate.
Still subject to the chair recognizing.
Yes, but at least I have something to point back to that I have the right to debate. And this has always been there for the SREC for 2 decades. As long as I've been coming here, the person that wasn't on the committee always had that right. It was just recognized. I don't know, I don't know why it happened, but when this got put in, it was flipped on its head.
Well, I get it. So you got chair, so you're not next. Let's go, Virgil.
So I have a question, Mr. Chair. How does Roberts handle, like, say we had a special guest, if Rachel Hale wanted to speak here, for instance, that she had some information to provide, what would be the normal procedure for this body allowing her to have, 2 minutes or whatever?
The chair has to recognize, the chair can recognize invited testimony. However, the committees can say, I move to eject that member from our committee meeting. Motion to eject that member, you want him out, we want him out. The chair can recognize, the chair controls the floor, facilitates the body. It's very, very important, friends. The chair facilitates the will of the body. They don't make the decision on what you do. They just help you do, they determine how you're gonna do it by maintaining order.
So like, for instance, in my minutes, the general meeting minutes, like if Steve Ministeri comes and has a word, we're gonna let him speak, generally. I put it in the minutes, as without objection, former RBT Chair Steve Ministeri addressed the SRC. But there's an implied motion there that like, the body gave that permission through the chair.
I'll give you an example. I stood up one time, we were in Lubbock, and they made a motion to suspend the regular order of business and recognize Congressman Jody Arrington to address the body.
Yeah.
Body voted on it, and that let us set the agenda aside. You're always subject to a call for the orders of the day, which means, Mr. Chairman, get back on the agenda. You're drifting where we don't want you to go. The body's always in charge, even though you may not know you're in charge. If you're being oppressed by the chair, then the body gets together and tells the chair, this is what you're going to do by your enforcement procedures. So oppressive chairs are always going to be a problem for testimony. And then you're going to get into the problem where we're going to talk about something he did, and I got, how many members you got on the committee, Andy? 11? Yeah.
Yes,
You're gonna, and y'all restrict the amount of time on the day?
typically, I try to limit it to 1 or 2 minutes, because we're running out of time.
Okay, so you got minimum, the potential for a half-hour debate on the main question. And then you've got the potential for a half-hour debate on the amendment, and the potential for a half-hour debate on the amendment to the amendment. So now we're 90 minutes on potentially on one topic. And so the chair, managing time and managing the floor, has got to see, I got 11 members that are real eager about talking about this. I'm so sorry, extra people, I can't even let the committee talk and get all of this out, or we're gonna run out of time. The schedule does facilitate what we do. That's just like we signing down the convention because the contract expires. Contract expires on the building. So a friendly chair that is properly running their meeting will facilitate Leslie Thomas coming in as a non-committee member to talk, and should, especially if they're subject matter expert on something. And I get that it doesn't happen. So all that being said, I don't think this does a thing, but if you're passionate about doing it, that's great. We'll take a vote on it, take it to the floor. I just don't see that it changes anything because it's still at the discretion. But it gives you the ability to point it out and complain later.
Yes.
Awesome. You can stand up and give the order, general announcements, or rise in a meeting, especially during a committee report, and say we're all members of the land. And there's things you could do. But
Like Andy says, if you have a fair chair, and like he tries to facilitate that woman, everybody recognizes that. And, you know, they see that. If they don't, you know, then everyone will recognize that they're being unreasonable. But I come from a time where we did not control the committee chair. I come from that time when we were shut out. And I'm saying that just because we have a party now, we won't have a party maybe in the future. And that protects our rights. This is the minority right, to be able to speak. And so that we're giving up that right, and it really means something to me. And I'll, if I can, I'll take it to the floor if this body, if this committee goes down. But I really think, I'll get off my high horse if the SRC votes it down, because that's the whole body speaking with being informed about this issue.
But that,
Point of information, and this is a point of information.
request for information.
Okay. Okay.
You understand I'm enjoying this, right?
We already have the right, I mean, you're telling us that we have the right to ask, and you have the right to say, we don't have time, or we will, or we'll let the body decide, but we already have that. Sure.
Body already has a right to do that.
Yeah.
The
To
chair,
let us
the
know.
chair can do whatever they want, right out until they're called to order. And a point of order is calling the chair, saying, hey, you're doing something wrong, point of order. Let me give you an example of what happened. You'll love this. I represented another state party, Republican Party, I won't tell you where. Oklahoma. And, they wanted to overthrow their chair. And so they have 300 members. It's every county chair's a member. It's a mess. The state senator was the current chair, allowed for under their rules. And so what they did is there was a faction that wanted to do a disciplinary procedure, eject the chair. They have that deal. And so what the chair did is, and they had a meeting that I didn't think was properly called, but the chair called a meeting and said, we're gonna call a special meeting of this body for the purposes of you airing out whatever grievances you have. We'll just take care of it right now. You got a legitimate complaint, let's do it. A point of order was immediately raised if the meeting wasn't valid and it was improperly called. Well, of course, we agreed it was improperly called, but I instructed the chair to rule it out of order. It's overruled. They appealed from the decision, and ultimately the body said the meeting wasn't properly called, the meeting adjourned. The body decided, even though we know the notices went out, if the body tomorrow made a point of order that that meeting wasn't properly called, and enough members, the majority of the members agree, we go home. The chair didn't say, no, we're not gonna do that. The body decides. So we're always under that authority, whether you take it or not. If that answers your question. It's already there. And I get, you wanna do it in the committee where the work's being done. And hopefully,
Back to me, this is making every single committee having 64 members. Back to me, this is making every single committee having 64 members. Nobody's losing the right to debate, because when we get to our meeting tomorrow, everybody has the right to speak and be heard. But this kind of destroys the purpose of having committees and having this smaller working groups to do the heavy lifting like you mentioned. So I think the language that we already have there is sufficient.
I concur with what Jeff said. I mean, I think there's not really no point of having committees if every single person has the right to debate in the committee. That's what's reserved for the full meeting of the board. That's when we get to really debate it. And if anything, we should be strengthening our ability, to debate during the full meeting. But in order to maintain order, which is what rules are for, we need to really focus on the members of that committee and not SRC and essentially not allow every SRC to be committee management and be a member of that committee.
and you can. Y'all ready for the question? Any more debate? Anybody else? The question occurs on adding Leslie's language and reporting favorably to the committee. If you vote yes, we take it to the floor. If you vote no, it stays in committee. All in favor of adding this to the report, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no.
No.
Those have it, stays in committee. You're welcome to move this on the floor to suspend the rule. If you want to. You know you can do that, right?
Yeah.
You can discharge it if you want to. Okay, let's move on to Chuck's rule.
Anyway, thank you for giving me a.
Sure. We love you, Leslie. We're always happy to hear you. Okay, let me get Chuck's rule up here. On the screen, that's helpful. And I can see the screen. Okay, this goes to Article 7. 8. 80, which is partnership coalition 2.
Let me speak to that.
I'll let you decide. Let me get it right now. I got E. What's the subsection of E? You got one more left.
2E. 8E, 2E. That was a what format, all those indents.
82E.
Well, it's an E's person and I E2.
Oh. In order to maintain compatibility with the RPT and its partnership status, each partnership desiring non-voting ex officio membership from the SREC must. Chuck wants to strike ex officio and put honorary. I'll recognize you, Chuck, to lay it out.
This came out of the Partnership and Coalitions Committee. We thought this would be a good change. But if you look in our glossary of our SREC rules, it has definitions. What we're wanting to do is to make it, just because somebody's on the Partnership and Coalitions Committee, we don't think they should be in our executive sessions. So basically, by changing the type of member that they are, they cannot participate in an executive session. And that's pretty much all that this does.
Okay, see what you want to do. Let me ask you something, Chuck. What do we do with the statement ex officio in E, ex officio in subsection 4, ex officio in subsection G? It's not a one strike. You're changing honorary, but ex officio is still recognized as status in other places that deal with partnerships. Have you looked at every single one of them? For instance, G, at the sole discretion of partnerships and coalitions committee, some or all required documents may be waived for the existing partnerships that are current ex officio members, if the committee determines they're in good standing. You change it to honorary, now you've got two classes of membership. This is going to, I get what you want to do. I don't think you've gotten it all.
Okay.
And by doing this, we're gonna create a big massive problem, and we're gonna get into other sections of the bylaws that you didn't provide notice on, and we're gonna wind up at a point of order train wreck debate. Did you look at it? And what you've gotta do is, I think it's 16 places ex officio is mentioned in our bylaws. We need to look at it and make sure that we're not changing precedent.
We're only wanting to change it when it has to do with partnership.
I get it, but go look at, do you have bylaws with you?
Yes.
Just go down to subsection G, and it refers to partnerships that are current ex officio members. So we're gonna leave all the current by this change, we'll leave all the current ex officio members in place, and only new members will become honorary. Huh? Okay, but you see the problem it creates.
Well,
I get it, I wish you would postpone this, and let's look at it a little bit deeper.
we can do that.
And I think I missed it, I don't remember, did you just send this to Pickle, or did you send it to me too?
I said it's Virgil, it's Pickle, this was noticed maybe 3 months ago.
Yeah, we got it.
I'll be quite honest with you, when you told me about it last night, I knew about it only because it got noticed, but I didn't really know about it, and when I researched it last night, I found 16 inclusions of ex officio that I understand you're just doing it in partnerships, but now you're creating,
Well, that's the only way that's the only place that we're partnership coalitions committee.
we've defined
So you're just
honorary,
going to
Right.
pertain to that.
and we've defined honorary, so that is a class of member that you can create, but you have to go through in that whole section and make sure that you're striking all instances of ex officio and creating all honorary partnerships. We also require that the partnership give a member of the SREC ex officio status in their committee. So we're only recognizing them as honorary, but we want ex officio status, whatever that means to them, under their society. So we need to make sure that we're consistent when we're gonna do that, or we're about to create a big old mess that we're gonna have to undo. I agree with what you're doing, and I also think that we need to probably go back to honorary and define speak and debate as long as it doesn't affect the debate modifier. Does anybody else want to chime in?
I do agree that this needs to be addressed, and also maybe in a process. I'll work on it.
And I can tell you, I care about it, but I don't care, I care about making sure we don't create messes that we have to fix later.
Anyway, our intent was just partnership and coalition, not all the rest of the rules and stuff. Just what's there.
Do you want to leave this pending and go back and work on it a little bit more and take it up to the next meeting?
We can, because I don't.
But you got, the problem is you got to change G. If you don't change G, now you messed it up. Uh-huh.
We can postpone it. We can postpone it.
G is just another subsection in the Partnership and Coalitions Committee that defines the next official. So we're gonna change it up there. If we got you. I'm not letting you talk, so you put your hand up. See how easy it is to press people? Yeah, we'll get that up, but it just, if we're gonna fix it in one spot, we have to be consistent. What'd you have?
No, I thought you were just where's the definition of ex officio?
At the bottom?
Okay.
It's, Roberts doesn't really like ex officio,
Yeah.
and knowing that, we define what ex officio means to us. It can mean different things to different societies. We define in our in our bylaws, in our glossary, that a member has 4 rights, ex officio has everything but this, honorary has everything but this. And right now, an ex officio member has all the rights of a member, but doesn't have the obligation to attend meetings. So it says an ex officio member can make motions and vote.
So that's RSC,
Yeah, I think there's a problem there because we define what our voting body is, and now we say ex officio member, so the rights of the member, attend meetings, speak in debate, make motions, and vote. Ex officio member has all the rights of the member, but doesn't have the obligation to attend meetings.
So that's their power, but. Yeah. We should be able to.
Right? No, they should not be able to vote. And then we say an honorary member can attend meetings and speak in debate. It really needs to say if recognized, and we have a standing rule that modifies our debate, 3-4-3 against, 2 minutes each. Does that honorary member get to eat one of those up? Depends on how the chair wants to recognize it.
Question.
That answer your question?
Sort of, but we do define who qualifies as an ex officio.
In the body of the bylaws, we call out ex officio members, which is what Chuck's wanting to fix, is make all partners honorary members, no ex officio status in partnerships. And you almost got there, but we have G, which is another section, we have to fix them all, or we've created classes of membership. Weren't you, did you have one, Deborah? Let's go. No, I'm recognizing you, Deborah, not her.
I'm referring to,
You're having too much.
yeah, I'm referring to, now this is my, this
I can't hear.
ex officio member, elected official, like, my husband, John, as, they don't have voting rights.
I agree, but our bylaws said it. Yeah, we gotta fix that. I found that last month.
So you've got your, okay,
Request for information.
request for information.
There you
So, we cannot address G. It would be out of
go.
order.
We can't address G because we didn't notice it, it would be
It
out
would
of
be out
order.
of order.
We can't suspend bylaw, it requires notice. So we have to go in and notice it all, or it's subject to a point of order.
Okay. So it's not something we should do this.
Without objection, we'll leave this pending to fix it. Is there objection? Hearing none, we'll leave it pending in committee. Anybody got anything else? Chuck?
Well, can this committee, since we are the rules committee, can we fix this in our, can we come up with fixes for this thing? And take it up next week?
Our clock's out in 1 minute.
Notice, we need to notice the other section.
Get Jim to call an interim. Let's fix it in a Zoom meeting, or notice, what I would do. He can do that. If y'all will show up, I used to call Zoom meetings and I didn't have to work.
Who called the point of order? Who called?
And I provided the freshmen some Zoom meetings too. I've always done that. You know, wasn't it?
Okay, so, Mr. Chair, I'd like to notice that this committee, also addressed Article 7, Section A, B, 2, G.
And she will fix the meeting.
So let's,
And anywhere else that deals with that, that's.
yeah, so we'll send an email to Jim and ask him to call a meeting of the officials committee for the purposes of addressing the partnership section in order to change ex officio to honorary, and we need to fix the ex officio definition at the bottom. They don't even vote right.
Okay, do you hear that, Virgil? We did that notice.
Well, that's not a notice, because we don't know what we're noticing yet. So the official, not officials, the rules committee, I said officials, didn't I? Jim just needs to call the rules committee meeting on Zoom, we'll fix it all, and then we'll send notice before the next meeting. We don't have to do notice now, we just have to have notice out on the agenda. And we can do that, he can do that as a chair, so I'll browbeat him into doing it. Anything else, comments? Appreciate you all filling out your customer surveys. How do I do that?
Where's the box for suggestions and?
Down the hall,